Hey friend, Roger Christofferson here again with another first listener review, and today we're going to be babbling about an album I wasn't actually planning on doing. Actually, I'd already done everything for the week, and this is just one that I picked up because it just interested me. I wasn't going to get it, but I'm like, you know what, this is one I should probably just check out, and it blew me away so much. I'm like, all right, cat out of the bag already. I had to do a review of this one. And so to get this out of the way, like, share, and subscribe to keep this music alive, because we were talking about the awesome Jimi Hendrix today, and the new box set, Bold as Love is what it's called, but it's the Access Bold as Love sessions, the albums. And I have to admit to something. Growing up, and I'm almost ashamed to admit this, I was not like a big fan of Jimi Hendrix. I know it's like crazy, and I'll explain a little bit here. Other stuff I was saying, ever like want to go back to your younger self and like want to smack yourself in the head or something back then and be like, dude, like, come on, like, wake up. This is what you got to know. It's kind of like how I felt when I finally like realized the genius of Jimi Hendrix. Going back, to like when I was discovering music and stuff, I was probably, 11, 12 years old when I started getting into the rock music heavy. I mean, I'd listened to it a lot actually before that, which is in my younger years, but I was really getting heavy into music right around, I would say like 10, 11 years old. And my best friend had a brother who was 10 years older than us, and he had this like pirate radio station he used to do out of his bedroom. We thought he was like this cool, way older than us. And he had all these cool posters up in his bedroom. I remember having a Jimi Hendrix poster and a Jim Morrison poster up, and he had like Pink Floyd albums and all kinds of cool stuff. Well, when he wasn't home, we'd sneak in and grab his albums and like listen to them or record them onto our little cassette tapes and then sneak them back without him knowing. And I remember Jimi Hendrix was one of the ones we got, and the thing that stuck out to me was I didn't like his voice. I didn't like his singing. And I don't feel bad saying that too bad, because Jimmy himself didn't like his singing either. He said it a lot. And, back then I was, I like the more, easier listening to vocals of people, more melodic. So I just didn't pay a whole lot of attention. As I got older, I just ignored Jimmy, and people talking about stuff, and just didn't give him the time of day, just mainly because that impression I got as a very young kid. And it wasn't until probably about 10 years ago I just thought, why do I never listen to any Hendrix? And I can't remember what album I got, but got one of them, and I was like, man, holy crap, I lose my voice. I was like, this is insane. This is good. How have I not been like paying attention? I'd heard the songs on the radio, Purple Haze and Foxy Lady and all that stuff, and I just still didn't pay any attention to them. And when I finally did, I like a world opened up. Then I realized how much I'd been missing all those years, and so I, of course, dove in deep, got everything. To listen to this album plenty of times since then, and I really appreciate his music a lot more now in the later years. Maybe it's better that I learned it that way and I appreciate it more that way. I don't know. That's just the way it happened. And his vocals don't bother me at all now. It's like I actually hear the soulfulness in his voice. It's very melodic at times, and even some of the bootleg stuff, he actually sings like better on some of the bootleg stuff. In fact, I noticed that on this one here too. With some of the outtakes, I actually liked better than the album itself. But I hadn't listened to this in maybe a couple years, this album. So popped it on and just went to listen to both. I just went right to the album. So sometimes I just jump to the bonus stuff to see what it is, but I just wanted to listen to the album all over again. And so I listened to the stereo version, which is remastered. And a lot of times I do not like remastered versions. Sometimes they tend to lose the essence of the album, and sometimes they're just not as good. This one, however, actually, I thought the remaster was really good. I noticed the low end was actually boosted a little bit, at least to my ears, and it seemed a little bit more clear on the high end too. So they did a good job with the remaster. I was really impressed with that. As far as the mono recording of this goes, I could have lived without that. I didn't really care too much, but I still listened to it, and it is what it is. It's a mono mix of the album, which I'll probably never listen to again. But, you know, just had to listen to it. And really enjoyed listening to that again. It's got some of my favorite songs of his on there. My favorite of all time is actually not on here, but my highlights on this one were always like Little Wing. That's a classic. Everybody loves that one. Of course, Spanish Castle Magic, love that one. I know I jumped around a little bit there. It's funny, if 6 was 9, like one of the singles off of this, probably not my favorite one on there. There's like actually a lot of stuff on here that was a lot better. Castles Made of Sand's great. She's So Fine's actually a pretty good song. And of course, the title track. But once we got to the bonus stuff, I was instantly blown away by the first bonus track on CD3, Mr. Bad Luck, which was Take 6 is what it's called. But for whatever reason, he's just singing really good on that version, like higher than I normally hear him sing. Very melodic. He has a little bit of rasp going on his voice, which I never really noticed before. And I'm like, man, this sounds like really good. If I'd heard this in my younger days, I would have probably been instantly attracted to him and not thought what I thought. But that was great. However, that's the only time he sings like that on all this stuff. But I thought that was really cool, just hearing him sing like that. I wish there was more stuff like him singing. So if people out there listening to this, me babbling here now, know of any more songs I should check out, or if I missed something along the way, or bootlegs or whatever, or he's kind of singing on that register, I'd like to know what they are. I'd like to hear them. But at this point, this kind of goes back and forth a lot with different takes, demo versions of the songs. For everything that was on the album, there's a few added extra things in here. And for the most part, what I liked about this was that there are songs that they're working on at that time that didn't make the album, early versions of stuff that turned into other things along the way. For instance, like Stars That Play with Laughing Sam's Dice. That's on here a couple different times with and without vocals. Different incarnations of the Burning of the Midnight Lamp. The one thing that I really thought was really cool was they have a working version of Stone Free and it's Slashed Up From the Skies demo. Holy crap, I'm glad that didn't stay the way it was, because Stone Free is probably my favorite Jimi Hendrix song, and that turned into a great song. And then Up From the Skies, of course, turned into a better song than this demo on the album. So those two ideas there, separated and worked on separately, became two great songs. And it's really weird hearing the two thrown together here, and that's how they started. It's kind of strange hearing that. And that's one of the unreleased ones. There's a lot of bonus stuff here. Only 28 of the tracks, however, are unreleased, and it's amazing that at this day, there were 50 some years on, they're still finding stuff that hasn't made it out there yet. So that was really cool hearing that. And the other thing I was going to point out is, except for a couple spots, there's not a lot of repeating of the songs like right in a row. So you get to hear like different takes. And then, like, say, like Burning of the Midnight Lamp, you get to hear that, then something else in between, and then Burning Lamp again, and then Stars That Play, Laughing Sam's Dice. They go back and forth with those two. They don't play them, Burning of the Midnight Lamp, like 3 versions of it in a row, and then, like, Little Miss Lover, they don't put like that, 3 times in a row, whatever. They kind of split it up a little bit, Spanish Castle Magic, whatever. They have it, like, split up, so you're not listening to the same song over and over again, one take after another. They spread it out, so you're not getting tired, you're not getting fatigued from hearing the same song a bunch of times in a row. I appreciate that. I actually don't like it when these bonus tracks on these box sets do that. They put a whole bunch of stuff right in a row, unless for some reason it works. And Whitesnake, they do like the working versions, but there's different versions of the same song within the same song. That's okay with me. I kind of like that. But so anyway, that's kind of my take on all that stuff there, the demos and the alternate takes and whatnot. And sometimes the instrumental versions don't sound any different than what ended up on the album. It's kind of interesting listening to just the instrumental. So I don't know if that's what they did here. It doesn't really tell you. If they overdubbed. From what I understand, most of this was tracked live, and that carries on to CD4. And for me, this is one of Hendrix's. It's one of my favorite albums of his, actually, because it's the in between of the really experimental stuff and the rock stuff. You get like his first album, The Experience came out. That was more of a rocking album. This one, you can see where he wants to go with the experimental tracks and where he goes off later on. And this one has a good mix of both of those. So for me, that's what I like. But then you get some extra added little ditties here after all that stuff. You get some studio or some TV appearances and some live stuff thrown in here. Most of which has actually been released before. And I think the only reason that it's actually on here is like the live stuff from Sweden is because this was, I think, recorded after the album came out. I'm actually not sure, but it doesn't include any of the songs that are on Axis Bold as Love, so it's kind of weird it's on there. But anyway, it's on here anyway, and it's been released before, and I don't know where because I don't remember. I obviously, I only started collecting this stuff recently, so I can't remember exactly where that one was released, unfortunately, off the top of my head. But then we get to hear the weird one on here was the Top of the Pops, Burning of the Midnight Lamp, where another track starts to play and Jimmy jokes that he doesn't know the words to that one. That's kind of funny. And then they play a recorded track, and then the announcer says that this is actually this is such a live show, so it's kind of funny hearing them joke about the fact that it's not. And then you get to, Purple Haze and Foxy Lady from the Hopla recording on there, and those are also not been released before, so it was kind of cool hearing them, even though they're not tracks that were on this album. So they throw some stuff in there that was kind of strange to have on this box set. I know they have the reasons for doing it, but they're there. So if you're a Jimi Hendrix fanatic, you're going to want this, of course. If you're a casual fan, probably not going to be anything extra on here that you're going to be interested in. I actually love this extra bonus and demo. I love hearing how songs are created and how they're born and how they generate into the real thing. And it's just, for me, I really love listening to that stuff. So that was fun. But anyway, I know this one's going a little long, but it was a long 4 CDs. So not that I'm complaining at all. Loved it. I just got done listening to it again here for the 3rd time, I think. So anyway, I had to throw this one out there and get this one out just because I'm a late to the party Hendrix fan, and I just felt like I had to do it. So until the next box set comes out, which I'm sure they'll find some more stuff, and I'm not complaining about that either. Until then, we will see you.